Welcome into the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. We have an exciting show today, folks, and a show in which we're going to feature two gentlemen that I ran into at Missouri Paracon who are, let's put it this way, they're two men who are leading in their field and getting even more popular by the day. And they're groundbreakers in their field. They're doing some exciting things. To you, one man who hasn't been in our show before, and another man who has. Juwan Mass has been with us before as part of Ghostbrothers. And another man who is taking the world by storm on social media, and you've probably seen him on Scariest Places on Earth, and has over 200,000 followers on social media between TikTok and Instagram. And who I've gotten to know just a tiny little bit, but want to get to know more because I've seen a lot of his videos online, and I can't stop going down this rabbit hole with him. In fact, as a matter of fact, when I bring him in, I'll tell you a little story. I was showing some of his videos to my mom this morning, and she's gotten to fall in love with him and some of the stuff that he's put online as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring them in now. We have limited time with them today, but I want to bring them in and talk a little bit about some of their investigations, some of the stuff they have coming up. I want to talk about some of the projects they have going on in the paranormal and history as well, because Joshua is involved not only in the history of the paranormal, but he's also involved in paranormal investigation as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in to Darkness Radio, Juwan Mass and Joshua Dairen. Gentlemen, thank you so much for, first of all, dealing with my horrible introduction, and second of all, coming on the program, because I know you came on at short notice. First of all, if you don't mind, Juwan, I'm going to throw you to the side for a second. I want to deal with Joshua for a second.
No worries. I'm right here when you need me.
Okay. I want to pay Joshua a little bit of a comment or compliment here. Joshua, I think I mentioned to you a little bit before the show. My mother's 79 years old, and I've fallen in love with your videos online, which, by the way, is hashtag Dairen Normal if you're on TikTok. And if you're on Instagram, they can of course find you on Instagram too. We'll have links in the description of this program so people can find your videos. And you've got a combination of some supernatural paranormal stuff there. You've got a lot of history of Alabama, Florida, and the South there. And you've got one video that I'm absolutely crazy about Bass Reeves, who is the inspiration for the Lone Ranger. And the Lone Ranger is one of my favorite characters growing up. And I'm showing my mom these different videos, and she's getting just as enthralled as I am about these different videos and history. And I'm showing her a lot of the historical stuff, some of the supernatural stuff. And she's just enthralled and watching you and looking at you. And she goes, you know what? Joshua would be perfect for public television. And with over 200,000 followers between two formats, I looked at her and went, yeah, Ma, public television. Yeah, that'd be absolutely perfect. And I busted out laughing thinking, yeah, public television? I think I see your career as much bigger than public television, my friend. I think you probably shatter much bigger than public television. I think you probably have a lot bigger things in the works.
Yeah. Well, I will say, first and foremost, again, tell your mom I said thank you. And, public television wouldn't be a bad landing spot too. It's still around. So if somebody wanted to call me, I would answer the phone for sure.
Well, I think because, and this is the compliment I think she's trying to throw out there. You look at like hosts like Henry Gates, or you look at some of the big historical hosts that have this gravitas, and she saw you in that light, right? She saw you in that light as a presenter that had such interesting information, and she was drawn, and she was like, oh my gosh, I can't stop watching. So I think she found you really riveting, and she was like, that was the compliment that was meant to be paid. I was just like, public television. To me, it landed in a funny spot where it probably shouldn't have. Right?
But the sentiment is still there, though. So that is a high compliment. Every single one of those I get, it always goes to the heart, and it really pushes me to keep trying to create good and powerful content for people. So I'm very endeared to your mom now. So she's a very, very wonderful lady for saying that about me.
Well, I will let her know. Let's talk a little bit about that content for a second. And I want to get into that a little bit, because you do have some really intriguing things on both those pages. And you cross a couple of different lines, which not only just exist in the supernatural and paranormal, but you go into some interesting historical facts that really grab your viewers, first of all, but the production on it is amazing too. I find myself riveted by the eye as well as the ear. There's certain things where you grab people, and it's kind of rapid fire, which is good for the younger listener and viewer. You're getting hit with facts that want to drive you in, but at the same time, for someone who's an old codger like me, I'm sitting there and I'm going, wow, you know, there are things here that I didn't necessarily know, and now I'm getting to know, and perspectives that I want to learn about and I want to know more about. So if I want to know more about it, I can go find it, right? But then I'm also going, I want to see the next video because I want to learn more about what it is that you're presenting to me. I want to know more about you too. That's the thing. As I'm watching these videos, I'm wanting to know more about you personally. So how is it that we get to know more about you? Is it in the information that you're presenting? First of all, are we getting to know more about Josh as we're watching the videos? And how is it you come up with the subjects for your videos?
Yeah, and excuse the train. It's coming by right now.
Hey, you can't
trying to
stop
embarrass me.
You can't stop the train, right?
But I think I do put a lot of my own personality into a lot of these stories, which is why it doesn't ever really necessarily feel like work to me, because this is me. This is what I do all day. I come across interesting information and I want to know more, and that well of curiosity has always led me to try to explore more, which is something that endeared me to the paranormal from the beginning. I had tons of experiences when I was a kid. They were met with questions that I didn't get answers to. And when you're a kid, you can't really find those answers. You're not really equipped for that. You don't have the resources for that. And you're dependent on adults and people who do have that information to actually share it with you without being scared about how you're going to take in that information. And so when I started doing this, I wanted to kind of capture some of that childlike curiosity and say, this is the story, but where is there more? How can I bring in more? How can I do the work for people who might not have the time to go look up some of this information, who might not want to go look up some of this information, or even challenge their perspectives about what they think they know and dig a little deeper. So at the heart of it, I think you can see a lot of me as a person within the stories that I tell, because the rapid fire facts, as you say, and kind of the history building and some of the paranormal is a microcosm of me in a nutshell. I do, I think TikTok is probably not the best way to get to know me. I think it's more so Instagram. I'm a little bit more accessible there. I like to talk more. I don't like TikTok's DM system.
Yeah.
So people ask me questions all the time, or they leave me stories, and I try to engage and say, hey, let's talk about this offline. Let's go, explore what you mean. Oh, you have a family story? Well, let's talk about your family story. Where can that lead me to? And so usually those searches lead me to more people or facts and figures that I didn't know. And so I do spend a lot of time researching, I will say, specifically for Alabama. That's kind of how I got my start, because we have so many stories in this state that just nobody takes the time to dig a little deeper. And there's a lot of powerful figures who've walked these streets and been in these buildings. And so as scary as it is to say, hey, that place has a ghost, what about the ghost? Are there more ghosts? Could there be more ghosts? What about this building? Why is that important? Why do people gravitate towards this place? Is there something important that happened here? So usually that kind of drives my searches. And I do like to find, below the surface information. And that kind of drives me. But I would say to get to know me is to get to know me in person. And that's usually where you can match some of the voice and the curiosity with a really goofy and not serious personality most of the time.
Well, I love that about you too. That hits me. That hits me right in the feels. I mean, I'm a goofy and not so serious person as well. Now, you are an amazing storyteller. And that's one of the things you have in common with our other guest here today, who is Juwan Mass, from Ghost Brothers. One of the things that I noticed after the weekend when we all got back from Missouri is that you put up a post about Juwan, and you thanked him for being the man to lead the way when it comes to the African American community in the paranormal world. And let's face it, it is, pardon my language, fucking vanilla white. I mean, it really is when it comes to the field. I mean, I think we can all be honest here. And it's quite misogynist. I think we've pointed that out on the show before too. There's not a lot of females in the field, and if they are, they don't tend to stick around for very long, and they don't tend to. There's not a lot of longevity for females in the field as well. So if you don't mind, let's get candid for a bit. So Juwan, I want to bring you in now, and I didn't want you to sit in the corner for too long.
I'm back, baby.
Thank you. Let me get your reaction to Josh's post. When he put up the post and thanked you for getting out front and paving that way and leading that forefront and kind of taking the bumps, if you will, and getting on TV, which I know, first of all, is groundbreaking, one, and adding your own style, your own flavor to this weird field. Let's face it, it's a very weird field. How'd that make you feel, one? And two, how do you respond to something like that?
Man, thank you for having me on the show again, Tim. This is awesome. Let's start by saying that. Glad to be back. Glad to have run into you at Michigan. Not Michigan, Missouri Paracon. And Missouri Paracon was where I actually met Josh for the first time. And so the interaction was beautiful. Like, I felt like I had known him prior to any level of interaction on Instagram and on social media. Our interaction on social media actually stemmed from him just being supportive, like him starting to like the post, him sharing a post. So I could really tell that, like, I could really just judge the character there based off of the fact that, like, me being a complete stranger, he was supportive. But man, the comments, the kind words, the gratitude that he has shown me was amazing. It was beautiful. Like, I was speechless. And at times I still try and find the words to articulate exactly how it feels for somebody to acknowledge you in a space that you didn't even know your own identity in when you first see the field, right? And realizing how important that representation matters, and then it actually come full circle with it touching somebody and you meeting that individual and seeing how important and impactful it was to their career, really, like, touched me. It was heartfelt for sure. Like, I can't even begin to, like, express how, like, immensely grateful it is just to hear those words, and then for him to also just put them online, for him to immortalize them in a certain way. You know what I mean? For him to share it with the world is even bigger and even more of a testament to, like, who Josh is as a person. But I'm grateful, to say the least. One other thing, it's like, I don't think people didn't know who I was when the show came out. You really don't know. Just like you asked Josh, like, who is he outside of these posts? And that's just kind of how it was. And as you were in this space, I learned to just be grateful for the opportunity of the role I was playing to the space. I was ecstatic just the fact that people were creating space for me to actually be in, and then they receive it. So with Josh having this level of support, not even knowing who I am, just based off how I represented myself and the space, is even bigger. It's grateful. Man, I'm just so grateful. It's amazing, to be honest.
I think it's safe to say great talent seeks that level, right? So it rises to that occasion, right? And I think when you go to these Paracons, you see kind of who belongs and who's pretending. And I'm not speaking any specific names or anything like that, but I think it was easy to see when you two were there that easily you two were very loved, and that a lot of people loved hanging out with you guys. They loved talking to you about the subject. They loved talking to you about what you do and wanted to find out more about you. It's easy to see that. And that they very much wanted to know more about you. And so it, to me, it's kind of a slam dunk. It's a no-brainer, right? That it's safe to say that there's a huge audience there, right? That wants to know more, that wants to know more about both of you.
Mhm.
And so with that, I'm going to ask the question here. And then again, questions need to be asked. And I think audiences ask this question. Networks, I'm just going to say networks, period, because I'm not going to pick on one particular network, but it seems like networks have cut back on live ghost hunting programs or recorded ghost hunting programs to choose to go cheaper with reenactment programs. And they've cut back on investigative programs. When it seems like there's still a thirst for that investigative program out there. We still do want to see these programs. We still want to see personalities. We still want to see live interaction. We still want to see Juwan on camera. We still want to see Joshua on camera. And even though we can see Joshua commenting on cases and he can present that material to us, we still want that live interaction. We want to see your personality. So I'll ask you first, Juwan, why are we not getting what we're asking for?
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, the honest answer is I'm probably not the person to be answering it. You know what I mean? Because it's not really my place to make the decision ultimately, right? It's to the networks. But I honestly do think that the landscape of television itself has shifted. How people can consume their content has really changed the trajectory of how we have to distribute that content. And so I think there was a challenge that the networks faced in that. So like, to your point, budgeting may have been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that it's cheaper to make something without talent necessarily and just do flashbacks. It's cheaper to possibly make something that is not a travel show, right? Like, well, we're not incurring that cost. But ultimately, I just believe that it should come back around. I think that there's gonna be a point where the dust will eventually settle, and we'll be able to kind of like get back to a screen near you, you know?
Yeah. Well, in maybe in Joshua, I'll throw this your way for this one. You're taking the next bullet, my friend. I'm sorry, ahead of time. You look at such successful shows as Travel the Dead with Katrina Weidman and Heather Taddy, or you look at the Project Fear Gang. They go out. They're funding their own shows now. They're going out. They're investigating. They're pulling numbers. And they may not be the type of numbers that maybe the network is looking for to get those shows, but they are self-sufficient and they are pulling in what they need to do in order to get what they need to get sponsors. They're getting agency sponsors. So with that in mind, and I'll kind of throw this in the same direction I threw it with Juwan. With that in mind, why are networks still hesitating and saying, well, you know what, though, we can do the AI Demon of the Week show, and we can maybe limp along with that and maybe get about 200K for this episode and hope it goes okay.
Kind of in Juwan's vein, I'm even more so, I'm less qualified to answer this question. But in my humble opinion, I think having done a little bit of news in my actual career, I think sometimes it's easy to not be sold on kind of a diversifying landscape. And with where we are in the space with hybrid shows and works of art and, you know, new technology and new concepts and things like that. I think sometimes the networks might be a little trepidatious to move forward with building newer stars because there's no actual number to place. I could, get a ton of followers, but even then, who am I to attract, tons of viewers to supersede previous shows? So I think that there's some of that trepidation on the back end. But on the flip side of that, to turn that into a positive, is making people like me or like who are a little bit newer in the actual public space a little bit more scrappy and willing to use our domains as live resumes, so to speak. I think that is something that is changing in the landscape overall. You can see that in professional careers. You can see this in hobbies and interests where people say, this is something I've done my entire life. I'm going to make it a thing. And then I'm going to show people that I'm really talented or really qualified to do this on another level. And so you see that with the Project Fear crew specifically, they were already kind of self-filming in a sense. And so they just said, F it, we'll just do it ourselves. And they were able to take that TV audience and bring it with them while also having a pretty strong social presence as well and marry those two concepts together. And, and I will say on that same note, I probably wouldn't be doing this again, like I said in that post, like without Juwan and Dairen and Marcus and the Ghost Brothers. But what they did do was marry two concepts for me. So I was already on TikTok. I was watching a guy named MNJ97. He does a bunch of animal facts. I was so captivated by the work that he did. And I saw myself in him as well, because he's another Black content creator. He built an incredible following. People were constantly sending him stuff, and he was educating me and everybody else. And so marrying my experiences as a child growing up, looking at him make something of the things that he loved, and then seeing representation actually be shown in a real way, moved me to say, I can do this too. And hopefully if I find my focus, which is my love for the South, and I marry that with what I've seen, then I can duplicate that and I can just create a resume for myself. So regardless of what happens, I know that I can build something. And so I can always take this product and give it to somebody else. And, going back to the trepidation for networks, I think there is no real metric to test if somebody like me would present well on camera. Because it's easy to do stuff at the house, but, are you capable of, commanding the camera, commanding a room, being serious about the craft when it comes time to actually put, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars into a singular project. But I do agree with Juwan that I think the dust is going to settle eventually. And there's going to be a lot of new stars to pick from, along with a lot of veterans. And that, in my opinion, is going to marry that metric together. So you have your veterans who are going to bring the viewers who are going to watch it on TV. And then you have the social media content creators who are bringing in that newer, younger audience for the next generation as well.
Okay. Yeah. I tell you what, we're going to take a break here, guys. When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of those investigations. I want to talk to you about future things that are coming up. We have to let Juwan go here in about 15 minutes, but I'm going to hold Joshua over for a little bit after we let Juwan go.
No worries. We'll keep it going.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll keep it going. I want to remind people as we go to break that you can investigate with Juwan. Juwan has an event coming up in Nottingham, England, that there are still a few spaces left. There are very few, but a few spaces left. April 25th and 26th. It's called Nights in Nottingham. You can join Juwan for an unforgettable paranormal adventure in Nottingham, England. It's presented by Ghostly Gateways. We'll have a link in the description of this program, so you can join him in England. It's not too late to do that. You can make your reservations right now. So again, link in the description of this program. Join Juwan in Nottingham, England, so you can do that as well. That sounds like an amazing time, Juwan. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. 2 nights in Nottingham. We have an investigation at it's called the Galleries of Justice. It's like the courtroom in the jail. And then we're going to be at the City of Caves. So it's kind of like an underground, think of like the catacombs type of thing, but it's underground caves. So we're going to do that for 2 different nights. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. We got a ghost walk planned. We got a couple of lectures. So it's going to be good. Yeah, please join us.
Sounds
April
amazing.
24th, 25th, Nottingham, England.
Amazing.
I'm excited.
Amazing. All right. So when we come back, we'll talk investigations. And I have an interesting question for both of you, and it has to do with a video that is on Joshua's TikTok. We're going to talk Prince Hall Masons. And I want to talk to you about investigation of Mason halls. And something that I've discovered when I've investigated Mason halls. So we'll talk about the interesting dynamics of Mason halls when we come back and investigations.
Love that.
I want to find out what you guys have found out yourselves. Okay, so we'll talk about that when we come back. Juwan Mass, Joshua Dairen are my guests. Again, we're talking paranormal right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guests are Juwan Mass and Joshua Dairen. We're talking all things paranormal. Coming off of Missouri Paracon, I wanted to have both these gentlemen on and talk a little bit about where they're at right now as far as the paranormal landscape and TV and social media. I wanted to talk a little bit about where things are headed for both of them, because both of them have projects in the hopper, some of which they can talk about, some they can't talk about. So we'll get that out of the way first, and then I want to talk about investigations. I know I'm springing this on you guys. I kind of told you I was going to do this, though, before we got on. I want to start with you, Juwan. I know you said there wasn't anything that was too out of bounds, but I know there's a lot of people that are huge Ghost Brother fans that want to know. Okay, they've seen you on different shows. They've seen you hanging out with Jack Osborne. They've seen your own shows, and they want to know what's going on. What's going on with you guys? We want you back on a regular series. We know that Warner Brothers Discovery kind of cleared the plate, so to speak, of most shows, but we want to see you guys on camera. So when? That's the question. When?
When? I don't have an exact date for you, man. I'm going to be honest, but I can say that we are in the developmental phase of something new. We have been really putting pen to paper, trying to figure out how to give you guys a variation of the Ghost Brothers you have come to grow and love. Something with the three of us, and we were trying to set it up in a situation where it could go national, mainstream, like if we were to go through distribution channels of a network, or we can go through streaming. So either doing it independently and kind of hitting the YouTube circuit like that. I can say that I did have a candid conversation with Shane over at Beacon.
Okay.
So we've talked about possibly working together and what that could potentially look like. So I think that we have some options and we have some good concepts that we are excited to possibly share with y'all.
All right. All right.
I mean, it's tough if I'm being completely transparent. It's tough because it's three people. I mean, realistically, it's like a boy band, right? Like we're trying to get three people all on the same accord and scheduling, and that is just a huge thing with the way life has been lifing and at the rate in which it's been lifing for all of us. Right. So like we appreciate the audience, we appreciate the genre for bearing with us and having patience, and then also still welcoming us into the space in all these areas, given the fact that we've been kind of absent from like collective content in a while. So thank you so much for that. But also for myself personally, I'm also working on a project or two to that's individual actually. And so it will be completely separate of the brothers. It'll be completely separate of the Ghost Brothers. But yes, please look out for, Juwan's content. That is something that I'm working on. Some investigative, some more journalistic, but yes, I am developing as well.
So Juwan, when I look at your social media and it says basically to come investigate with you, or you have that little hashtag. What does this mean when I look at your social media and it almost seems like not a fan club, but it almost seems like a following. What is this messaging I'm seeing from you?
That is the hashtag Join Juwan?
Yes, Join Juwan. What does this mean? Yeah.
It's just about an experience, man. It's really just being able to be around a whole lot of peace, a whole lot of love, and a whole lot of paranormal. I think that it's unique to be around, a group of individuals that kind of share commonalities, and you don't feel like you are having to be judged for them, right? I think we all know, as being kind of nerds ourselves in a very particular space, sometimes it gets a little lonely and you may feel a little weird doing stuff. And, just being a part of the community of Join Juwan, we're accepting, but then we also chase paranormal. I also do dinner parties because I'm really big on like lifestyle things. So I have a dinner party called Noir Dinner with the Paranormal Poppy. And we do meditation. So we do like sound bath meditation. So we have positive conversation. We talk about doing really all things spirits related, from spirituality to high positivity to also the spirits that you drink as well. So
right on. Okay, so I got to ask you about the sound baths real quick. I know I'm getting on a little bit of a tangent here. When you do the sound baths, are you focused on one thing in particular, or is there different things you focus on with the sound baths?
So it's a little different. So you want to the way they were done in my dinner parties was we'd start by speaking on what we want to release. So as far as like negativity, things that we're trying to get rid of, whatever that may be. It could be fear, it could be doubt, it could be confidence issues. All these things that we want to release, we don't want to focus on anymore. And then once we release those, then we set positive intentions on the things that we want to attract. And so it's a combination of things. So yes, you focus on one thing to then eliminate, to make and create space for another. And that's kind of like how the sound bath is done. And then it's also like silence, it's healing, it's meditative.
Okay, interesting. Because I guess in my own, I'm only relating it to me. In my own experience, I've always wanted to try a sound bath because I'm a chronic pain patient. So I've always wanted to try a sound bath in regards to alleviating chronic pain. So that's how I've always wanted to go about it. So
they do say those frequencies have like healing properties.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, it won't hurt to try.
Right.
Honestly. This isn't like medical advice by no means. Like this isn't like, I'm not like Dr. Mass trying to give you some some medical advice, but I am saying that, like, it doesn't hurt, right? Like you get you a nice little beat to listen to while you reflect.
That's right. So Joshua, you're an up and coming star in the paranormal.
Josh is a star in the paranormal.
Okay, I'm sorry. I stand corrected, Juwan. I stand corrected. You are a star in the paranormal. I know you got stuff cooking in the hopper. Can you elaborate on any of it?
Yeah, I'll save the one that I can talk about a little bit more for the end. So the first two, one is there's a project that I'm working on that will be a little bit independent. The cast, quote unquote, is already together. It's more so just scheduling's rough, and just kind of seeing how the landscape is going to shape out for the next couple of months. So it's kind of, I think everybody's in a holding pattern to some degree. It seems like a lot of people in this space have had some communication with somebody about something with other people or themselves at some point. And I'm slowly finding myself in that space now. So there's one, and I have another one that's pretty similar. This one would be more of a singular, driven focus that's already kind of put together as well. But again, it's waiting on kind of the landscape to shake out. So same song and dance as a lot of people. I have a personal project that I'm working on, and we'll see how that goes. I don't want to say too much. I'm very much one of those people who I'll keep it to myself until like it's pretty much done, because at that point there's nothing anybody can do about it. But it's going to be, I can say it is going to be a book. And I think it's going to be a very important book in the space, one that hasn't been done yet, but one that I've done ample amounts of research on already. If you're really good at finding my patterns, then if you go through probably my last, 70 videos, and you just try to pull themes, you could probably figure it out, but we'll see. we'll see. And the last but not least, I've been talking to Shane. Shane actually is closer than most people when it comes to like location wise. And I've had some conversations with him at Beacon for a very specific project as well. That kind of marries what I already do now, but expands it into a little bit different of a world. So instead of just being paranormal or history, a little mystery, a little true crime, but in a format that people would recognize, and I think would like something that would definitely be made for public TV.
Okay, definitely would work on public TV. Huh?
I'm going to throw this out there, like just because we have an opportunity.
Sure.
How interested would you be in us doing something, Josh?
I'd probably close my shop down and go do that. I would love to. I'm open to so many things, but also just working with good people. That's what I want to do more than anything. It's really important to have good people in the space. So yeah, if you call me or text me or message me, I will make it happen.
I think we can start throwing some stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, I have some ideas too, but I was gonna wait until this weekend, but I still wish it'd happen this weekend. Then, so.
I mean, we're not. It's not like we're not gonna see each other, so like we can still talk about it there too. But just trying to see where you're. Really, just checking the temperature, see where your head is.
Can I honestly say something? When the two of you were standing there, when we were talking, I honestly thought you two were working together. I honestly thought that you already had a project together. And
jokes on you. We made this interview happen.
Well, I know you made this interview happen, but no, it's because the chemistry already felt like it was there. And I'm being serious here. I already felt like there was a chemistry between the two of you, like simpatico. The way you two talk with each other and the way you two interact with each other, it was like, bing, bing, I'll email you. We'll talk to each other. Bing, bing, back and forth. It was like, well, these guys have to be working with each other. They have to be simpatico. So I'm just, guys, you guys are a home run together. Come on, let's face it.
Man, I appreciate that. Good to know you'd be in support. If it happens, Tim, we're coming to you for an exclusive.
Yep.
Oh, please do. Please do. I want to be there. Please. I really do think it's a home run. If you guys get together and do something, it's a home run.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of mutual understanding between the two of us. I think we just getting to know Juwan specifically, just the work ethic. I think we're similar in that vein, but also just energy. I am an extrovert. Like I own a coffee shop, so I have to talk to a lot of people. But sometimes it's good to be around people who can kind of, I don't know. I the best way I can describe it is like where I don't have to like lead the room. Because sometimes I just want to just chill, and I think Juwan has a good personality that meshes with mine in that regard. Because like, let's be honest, Juwan has a lot of charisma. He has and so being able to just be in that presence, like I can learn a lot because like it's just a wealth of knowledge, but just I think it's humility too. And I will say that I think as much as Juwan has to be prideful about, he's so humble, and I'm attracted like to just people who carry that kind of spirit. So it'd be really cool to do some projects, and I think we would do good work together.
Well, you know what they say, great people produce great things. So I think two great people would produce some great stuff. So
again, thank you for those kind words, Josh. Appreciate that, man. Yeah.
There you go.
Y'all gonna make me cry on this show, man.
Oh, look at that.
And people who know me, I'm very much a flower giver. So Tim, you're coming up before we get off this interview too. I like to give people their flowers early and often. And I know some people get like real skittish about that, but I think if somebody's impacted you in any type of way that's meaningful, that's carried you forward, you got to let them know, even if it's something that's full circle or something small or even something grand. So I tell everybody that I'm in contact with that's done something for me often what they mean to me or how they've helped shape me into a new way.
Well, before you get to me, I'm going to hang up. Anyway, so no, I'm kidding. Or I'm going to change the subject. Let's do that. Let's talk a little bit about investigations. One of the things, Josh, on one of your videos, which absolutely fascinates me, is the topic of Mason halls and the Masonic topic, and when you investigate Mason halls in general. Now, I don't know what both of your experiences are, but I have a certain experience, and I want to throw it at you and see if it's similar with both of you. The tale of Prince Hall Masons, and I'll throw it to you, Joshua, to explain to people who don't know the story of the Prince Hall Masons, is a little bit different from the Prince Hall Masons are a bit of an offshoot from you want to call it the standard Masons or whatever you want to call it. But tell people who the Prince Hall Masons are, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So my knowledge really kind of centers around the formation of the Prince Hall Masons in Alabama. Like you said, they were an offshoot of the Masonry, but the people who founded it from Maryland, I forget his name, but nonetheless, actually, I think his name is Prince Hall. So never mind. He came down to Alabama and wanted to start creating like synergetic, I guess, services and resources for the greater community at a time right after the Civil War, to help with social status and financial literacy and education and just economic just growth and development amongst the community, which ended up attracting a lot of really famous Black Alabamians who helped shape the world, but more specifically the United States and the South when it came to civil rights moving forward and breaking away from the old ways. So it started in Mobile and it moved its way to Birmingham, which has one of it's being restored now, but one of the bigger buildings in the state where people gathered together. And so that was their focus. They were gathering as many, successful or Black Alabamians with movement, just people in the local area, to create those communities throughout the state. And that ended up turning into the first foundation of fraternal orders in Alabama, which led to, like the Deltas and the AKAs and the Alphas and the Omegas and, Kappas and Sigmas and all that, the Divine Nine. But it's a really cool story because you always think back to like the Alphas as the foundation, and it really helps set the tone for these organizations to reach out to their communities, attach themselves to HBCUs and different locations so that synergy could continue as the world changed. And so kind of on that note about, investigations, I haven't personally investigated any Mason halls, but what I do know from like what I've gathered, a lot of them are haunted, and it's just, I don't know why. And it's not even necessarily like bad hauntings per se. I guess it's a matter of perception. Yeah. But my always goes back to like energy and like the connections that were being built in these buildings, and people syncing up together. Because, when you sync up together, that energy aligns. It hits what you said earlier, Juwan, about frequencies being healing. I think as those people leave, that energy remains. And so as new energy comes in, it's bouncing off of that person. And now you're getting those paranormal experiences where you can't really explain it, but somehow it's trapped amongst this Mason hall. And the hall,
it's layered, right? Yeah. So like when you think about a lot of the Mason halls or a lot of the Masonic temples, like they were actually built to harness energies. So you'll see a lot of them that have dome-like figures. So you have that element, right? But then you also have the element of like intentionality. And that is extremely big when it comes to the paranormal space, and even just the spiritual space in general, where like, if you're on an investigation, they say, be intentional with the spirits, tell the spirits that you don't want them to follow you. And that's kind of like a direction for protection, if you will. So like you have that intentionality in Masonic halls, you have the construction in Masonic halls. And then I think it produces a lot of residual activity. So when you're in the space, to your point, it may not be extremely sinister, right? But it may be very residual. And you just happen to be in the right place at the right time to catch that moment, which is really beautiful, because every Masonic lodge that I've investigated, honestly, has been active. Like I just did one back last November, in Indiana.
Let me ask you this, Juwan. Were they willing to communicate with you, the active ones? Or were they a little hesitant to communicate with you?
I think it was a combination of both. Like I think it's like some reluctancy. And I think you find yourself catching them, so then you catch this residual activity, right? And then you get moments where they're entrusting enough to say, let me intelligently respond.
I'm going to ask you a very important question. And this may change the way you investigate Masonic lodges from here on out.
If it does, Tim, I promise you, you are the man. You're the real MVP. If this changes the trajectory on how I investigate, I'm here for this.
Try this the next time you go to a Masonic lodge. Bring an investigator with you, or if you are, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Bring a fellow investigator with you that's a fellow brother Mason, a fellow Mason. Have him, without you in the room, if you're not a fellow Mason, leave the room and leave the fellow brother Mason in the room to talk to that spirit, that active spirit.
Yeah.
And bring a recorder in with you or a video camera. Let him talk to that spirit the way a fellow brother Mason talks to another fellow brother Mason. Watch what happens.
I can see it.
Oh yeah, I'm fascinated by that.
I can see it.
You will get results.
Yeah, I can believe that for like 100%.
You will get results. I'm telling you, you will get results. It'll totally open up a whole new deal because, as you know, Juwan, in lodges you'll see shadows.
Shadows.
Yep. You'll see shadows.
You'll hear sounds.
Yep.
Sometimes you'll hear a lot of like it's like banging. And I don't want to like say it's like the sound of like somebody hitting a gavel and you're kind of getting this like order.
That is exactly what it is.
I'm assuming that's the sound because that's what I'm associating it with. I don't want to say that is actually what's going on for sure.
It's calling the lodge to order.
Something, it just gives you that. It gives you that energy. I'm not sure, but that particular like technique that you're speaking of, like we've used that in other investigations as well. Like for instance, when we investigated the Conjuring House, we brought in Andrea Perrin, and Andrea Perrin is a part of the family that the story is based off of. So like, you bring her in, and I think those people have different connections to the property that, cannot be imitated. Like this is not something that I have. I am forever going to be a stranger to that property. Right. Like,
right. But it's the authenticity of a fellow brother Mason coming forward, and preferably one that has some rank, one that can sit down and have a full conversation.
What are you saying? Like 30-second, or they can be a little lower?
30 seconds. They can be a little bit lower, but preferably 30-second. Yeah.
Okay.
30-second. Someone that could have a full conversation that knows.
They know some of the esoteric information. Like you got to be able to.
Yeah. That can speak.
Yeah. In Greek terms, that means they had to pledge.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. That could, without giving away too much on the show, I can't exactly say much, but you know what I'm talking about, Juwan. But can go through all the rites and rituals and actually talk to that spirit on the other side, and you'll get results.
Yeah.
Happen. And you might actually hear certain keywords being passed back and forth on a recorder.
I love that idea too of tapping into spaces that people would be familiar with or have a connection with. And this is like, I'm not even trying to plug my coffee shop, but
no, please do. I was going to ask you about it, so please do.
I'm plugging.
I'm plugging it. We actually, and this was just happenstance. I don't believe in coincidences, but our space is haunted. It's like legit haunted, and it's a common theme that runs throughout a lot of these buildings here, but more specifically ours. So I'll have people come in and they're like, man, I went to sit in the back because I wanted to see the ghost. And I was like, it just doesn't work that way. But like my relationship with what we have here is different than even my baristas and people who are here frequently. And it's kind of cool because sometimes, like, you know, I will come in here, and I would love to try that out with me and like somebody else in this shop too, because I'll come in here and I'll think of somebody throughout the day, and that person will come into the shop, or I will think about something happening in the shop, and then it will start happening in the shop. The when I'm closing or when I'm opening, the movements that I describe are different than what people hear generically as my baristas. And so it's, you know, we kind of coexist in this space, but there's like it's weird, but like I can talk to this, I guess, I named him Thomas. He feels like Thomas, but we communicate differently here. And sometimes it feels like he's kind of helping me. And so the thought of that translating into places like, you know, Mason halls is really cool. Especially like thinking about the concept of like concrete being a superconductor for that. So not only are they harnessing that energy, but concrete being that superconductor for the paranormal, and then thinking about the energy left over. And, you know, whatever happens in the afterlife too, kind of combining to join forces. And y'all too also having, you know, synergetic experiences is a cool concept that I think might translate to other spaces too. Even for people who are descended from other people who go into spaces and they're like, wow, it's super active, I don't know why. You know, sometimes it could be linked to something locally for them, which is such a cool concept to think about from that regard, especially from a Mason standpoint, because they can talk to what would essentially be there differently than me just walking in there being like, hey, time to talk. You know, right. A little bit less reluctant because I'm not a part of the fold per se.
And as I was watching the video, Josh, I honestly, from thinking just from your local Prince Hall Lodge or Prince Hall, just from that perspective, if you still have descendants from that Prince Hall Lodge that are, and I know that, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of, I know the Prince Hall ranks are shrinking, for lack of a better term. Masonic roles everywhere are shrinking. They're kind of a dying breed, to be honest with you, all across the nation. But if you still had if you had a descendant of one of the original Prince Hall members, and maybe there is a spirit there at that Prince Hall, one of those Prince Hall lodges there in Alabama, and you were able to take a current Prince Hall member in with you on an investigation in one of those halls, boy, would it be interesting to see what you could get out of there, especially local history, you know?
Yeah, ironically enough, I do know more Prince Hall Masons than I thought I did. And it wasn't until I posted that video and I got a lot of DMs, and it's just people that I would have never guessed because they're so like quiet about it.
Oh yeah.
They started doing their ranks and I was blown away, honestly, by the amount of people who connected with that story, because, you know, it's just a cool story for me. I didn't realize, you know, the history that Prince Hall Masons had in Alabama specifically, but to see that, you know, I could probably find 2 or 10 or 20 people that would come along if I said, hey, I want to do like a group investigation. Y'all go in there and do what y'all do. And I'm going to sit this recorder down in the middle of the floor. And then I'm just going to go through these hours worth of footage and see what I can find, or recordings and see what I can find. And I think it would be kind of interesting because a lot of people are really connected to that Birmingham one. It meant a lot to the state, especially during the civil rights era. And so I'm now personally curious, and I think that's a project that I might embark on in the next couple of months just to see what I can find.
You definitely inspired me as well just now, because my grandfather passed away years ago, but he was a Mason, and so, but he passed away before I even got the time to like learn from him, and now I'm like, man, I wonder. Now I just wonder. Now I'm curious. Now I got to go do some research on.
Let's see, it's in the blood.
That chapter of his life.
Yeah.
It's in the bloodline then, Juwan. If you were to go to his lodge, you might be able to get something out of his lodge.
Look at that. That it transcends ancestral.
Yeah. So something to think about. You know what? You might even be able to take one of his artifacts, whether it be his Masonic Bible, whether it be whatever it is that he has, take it with you to his lodge and
look, trigger object, see what I can get.
And see what you can get.
Yeah.
Something.
I mean, maybe it works at the lodge. I don't know. I can figure something out. I gotta figure it out. Now you got me.
Yeah.
My wheels turning.
Yeah. Just a little something to inspire you. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because he's also from Alabama.
Really?
Yes.
So I think you have found your historical project to work on. It's crazy, but
yeah, he's also from Alabama. But my family is from Mississippi and Alabama, all along the Gulf Coast. So like,
interesting.
I would say the city, but I feel like I could be wrong. But it's somewhere near like, you heard of like Andalusia?
Yep, Andalusia, Demopolis, they're all in that same area. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's not too far off from Mobile. That's maybe like an hour.
An hour
most.
Yeah, it's not far. Like my family's not like 20. My family's like 20 minutes from Mobile.
Wow. Okay. So he might be like an OG
on the Mississippi side. So they're like 30 miles, probably 20, 30 minutes from Mobile on the Mississippi side.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely need to do some looking because it sounds like he's part of like the OG Prince Hall line, which is kind of a big deal. That runs deep.
So
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we gotta look at if you have ways to look it up, like more so than me just like asking my family, because at this point I just gotta ask my grandmother and maybe like the kids and just kind of see what I can get out of it. But yeah.
I can actually help you with that. I make friends with a lot of librarians, a lot of genealogists, a lot of archivists too. So yeah, I'll take some time. I'll circle up with some that I know that are down there, and I would definitely see what I can find to see if there's even records of that.
I can even give you a shortcut here, fellas.
Yes, please.
Just go directly to the Prince Hall, the main Prince Hall Mason, whoever the main Prince Hall Mason Society is there, and just tell them there's somebody on TV who wants to know about his grandfather. They'll cough that up faster than you can say, guess who? And then they'll give you that information, I'm sure.
Okay.
They'll even tell you which lodge you belong to. They'll give you all of that. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. They'll volunteer it.
I love that.
Especially for a defeat. I
love that.
Yeah. They'll give you.
Yeah. Oh wow. All right.
Was he buried with Masonic honors?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, then I believe
so.
Was he buried in Alabama with Masonic honors? Do you know?
No, he was buried in Mississippi.
In Mississippi with Masonic.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then it should be pretty easy to trace.
Yeah, I believe so. He was also I want to say World War II veteran.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got some work to do.
I do. You want to know something interesting as well? Like just to kind of add to that story. My first paranormal experience was in the cemetery that he's actually buried in, but like he wasn't buried. He had not been buried. He hadn't died before my paranormal experience, but I have other family members in that cemetery, and it was wild. Like so, the first time I experienced something paranormal was in a cemetery in a small town in Mississippi. And when I got older, like I found out that cemetery at the time was family owned. And I had other ancestors that were buried there. So like he then was buried with other members of the family. But yeah.
Wow. Oh wow. That's full circle. Wow.
Yeah. It gets deep. Wow. For me at least.
Fellas, you better trademark this quick, but I think you almost have a My Paranormal Life TV show you could put together between the two of you. I'm just saying, with Juwan, you investigating, and Joshua, you looking up the history.
Yeah.
Just saying,
Mm-hmm. Don't be throwing ideas out there, Tim. I was already on the move. Yeah, you read my mind over here. I'm like, I had already told him.
You make the money off of it. Just go trademark the shit right now.
I was headed there, but that's why I went to Josh like, hey, would you be interested in something? And now you're throwing out the ideas.
No. It's hey, you know what? copyright Juwan and Joshua, and fuck all y'all who try to take it. Right?
No, man, it's all good. It's all good. I don't need that energy out there. What will be for us will be for us. There's not going to be. It's not going to be a necessity to fuck all y'all.
Well, I just, I'm just putting the whammy on whoever tries.
I know you come with the hammer. I appreciate that. Like sometimes we need that. Yeah. What is that like? What do they call that? Wasn't that like the parliamentarian? Isn't that like the parliamentarian, like the strong arm? Who was that? Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, you gotta have a heavy in this thing. So, with my 14-year-old voice. Yeah. Just saying. But yeah, well, it sounds like when things are meant to be, they're meant to be, and they just kind of, the universe puts it together and stamp on it, and boom, there it is. Right?
Sure.
There you go. All right.
Sure.
There you go. Wow, I think we've done good work here today, fellas.
You said your job here is done?
My job here is done.
That was good.
Before we leave today, Joshua, you've mentioned your wonderful coffee shop a couple of times, and you actually told me a little bit off air about the fact that, now I mentioned that I've had problems with acid reflux in the past. Let's talk coffee for a minute, my friend. Let's talk about the fact that your coffee you mentioned was low acidity.
Yeah. So when we first got this shop, we truly and honestly did not know anything about coffee. I was never drinking lattes. I was never getting cappuccinos. I didn't do anything. Like I drank drip coffee with my grandma from like the age of 5 to the time that she passed. And she was a person who got me into liking coffee, but like from a very basic familial relational aspect. When we got this place, I didn't really know much about, acidity and how that translated. But one thing that I did doing research, because I have acid reflux, is there a way to get coffee that does not make me feel sick afterwards? And, low acidity coffee is not like a new concept, but it's not something that everybody serves. So we went out of our way to find a really high really high quality roaster who only roasts these types of beans. And so it's a special technique that you have to do. But every single one of our coffees, from our espresso blend to our universal blend to our drip coffee to our cold brew, and to our, I think I said drip coffee, but that too is all low acidity. So you can drink as much as you want without having that kind of afterburn. And it's good for your body. It's keto friendly as well. So it's not something, to say that I'm like super health conscious, but I want to make sure that when people can come here, they can actually enjoy the coffee without having to worry about what happens after they do. So that's really important to me to make sure that, people are happy from that. So it's not just, and it does affect taste. Fun fact. Yeah. So when you have low acidity coffee, it makes the espresso come out cleaner, smoother, a little bit sweeter, because that acidity isn't playing the role of the primary and isn't taken away from the full, well-rounded taste. So that's a benefit, in my opinion, for coffee drinkers. You can have really good, high-quality coffee without hurting yourself in the end. So that's what we serve here. That's what we'll always serve, no matter where we go or how big we get.
Now, is this like a chicory coffee? Because I love chicory coffee. I've had that before. Or is it an actual coffee bean coffee? So
no, it is not. It's not New Orleans style coffee. Okay. Something I've been thinking about doing, but no, it's just a really well-rounded blend. They source their beans very specifically. So people who want to make this coffee and cultivate this coffee on farms are doing it. That's one thing I'm also very, very serious about. And they get it from the Congo, Nicaragua, Brazil, and Colombia. So it's a nice, well-rounded blend. I know it sounds a lot. Some people are like, "Oh, you need a single origin," but you don't need a single origin to have a really good taste. If you craft the right beans together to make a solid taste. And so, that's our espresso. And I haven't heard bad things, so I think we're cooking with grease a little bit.
Well, I would say by the way you sold it in Missouri, you did a darn good job. I'm sorry, Juwan, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, you're good. What's the name of your coffee shop?
It's actually called The Coffee Shop. We adopted this name. We did not name it The Coffee Shop, but it's been really cool to have this name because we were able to take it and rebrand it. And so our logo is a unicorn. and people know us by the unicorn now. So it was really good branding to kind of take us away from the standard coffee shop logos, which are like, oddly enough, like beer and cigar stamp style, which has never been appealing to, I think, the universal customer. So we're pretty light and airy, and we try to do some like high quality, fine dining-esque coffee. That's where we're kind of moving towards. But more so that anybody of any coffee palate can come here and get something that they like at the very minimum.
Where can we find it?
You can find me, on socials, you can find it at thecoffeeshop.al, pretty much anywhere. And again, you'll know it by the unicorn logo. But if you happen to drive through Alabama, we're about an hour and 40 from Atlanta. We're in Opelika, Alabama, in the downtown historic district, right in the center too. And you'll also know us by the window art, because we always keep window art up here to kind of make sure people walking past can see us.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna go check it out. I don't even really drink coffee, but I gotta go support. Y'all have tea?
We do. That's another thing that we have maybe about 9 or 10 teas. They're all high quality, all loose leaf. We don't do any packs. So if you do come get tea, you're gonna have to wait for 3 to 5 minutes or so. But
I'm on tea regularly. That's what I'm drinking right now.
So am I. I actually have a strawberry cream tea right now. That
nice.
Very good.
Nice.
So can you name off the 9 or 10 teas you have right now, Joshua? I mean, we want to know. Nobody else does, but we want to know.
So we have Earl Grey, English breakfast, lemon ginger, turmeric ginger, peppermint, cinnamon plum, masala chai, jasmine green, Thai green, and what's that last one? That last one likes to hide in there. Butterfly pea.
Oh, the peppermint sounds amazing.
Yeah. Butterfly pea is surprisingly probably the best of all of those.
Really?
Yeah.
What's it got hints of?
Well, it's a flower. It turns the tea blue. If you add acid, it turns it purple. But the taste is very similar to if you like boiled peanuts or like nuttier flavors. It has a very similar palate to that. It's very surprising because it's a flower, but it's a very smooth taste. Or if you, and this is going to be a weird comparison, but if you eat black eyed peas that are like well seasoned, that's kind of the taste that it has. A little different, but it's very good to the palate and very good for your body too.
What are you ordering, Juwan?
I'll probably do a blend, honestly. It sounds like I would love to try that butterfly. But what was you said one before that? It was something chai.
Masala chai. So we have spicy masala chai that we serve here. And I love chai, so I always keep that in.
I feel like I would try that masala chai with a lemon ginger. Like I think I would blend it.
Yeah. That already sounds good. I'm actually, when I leave, I'm about to go try that.
Yeah, I think I would try that.
Yeah. I'm either the lemon ginger or the peppermint. Yeah. You're probably going to get an order from Minnesota and think it's kind of crazy, but it's probably going to be a combination coffee tea order.
That's good.
I'll feel it. I'll feel that order.
All right. So between coffee and tea, you need to place an order for that, folks. You need to get your order in for that. We'll have a link in the description of this program so that you can get an order in from the coffee shop there in Alabama. And you need to get yourself a trip to Nottingham, England. You need to join Juwan for Nights in Nottingham. Ghostly Gateways is presenting that April 25th and 26th. So go join Juwan for that. Do you have any trips coming up in the future here, Juwan?
Yeah, this upcoming weekend, the March 14th through the 16th, Josh and I both will be at Hauntlanta. It's at the Island Resort in Beaufort, Georgia. So those tickets are still available, but we'll be there all weekend for another paranormal convention. I'm also going to New Jersey at the end of the month for a public investigation. I want to say it's come Spring Hill, maybe museum or something like that, but tickets may still be available for that, but you got to go to New Jersey paranormal.com.
Okay. All right. So join Juwan around the country and Josh as well.
Josh, are you going to Windy City, Paracon?
Yeah, I'll be there. I actually just talked to the host of that and floated your name because I know that's, hometown. So I don't know if you reached out, but
no, I would love to go though. Maybe I should.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll make that connection today. I already talked to him about it about 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
I'm going to back and I'll get you there. He would love it.
Okay, awesome. I would love to check it out for sure.
Yeah, let's get Juwan at Windy City. Let's get Tim at Windy City too. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I can do both. So when I get off, I'm gonna go and just make that connection. I'll go ahead and just do it.
I'll be your best friend.
Oh man, I appreciate that warming introduction. I mean, I feel like that's just really all it takes these days. And sometimes people don't want to stick their necks out for that. But thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I promise you, I'll get both of y'all there. I can make that happen.
Man,
all right.
Yeah.
You're going to get a ton of hugs. I don't know what else to give you.
When I can't throw my weight around, I don't have a lot of weight. When I have a, little 50 pounds, I'm swinging it. I'm swinging it everywhere.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say, we'll owe you one, Josh.
Yeah, big time, man.
We'll owe you one.
Like whatever kind of dinner you require. I mean, I can't throw steak dinner out there because I don't know if steak's your thing, but hey, if it is, I guess that's he just went, yeah, no.
maybe it's his thing.
Yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm. We'll figure it out.
Ain't no
and in this project, we got to get this project between you two together. So let's get this thing rolling. So
from your lips to God's ears, you know what I mean? We're gonna try and make it happen. I think it's something we got some stuff to talk about.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll get you guys off this Zoom call and get you two together and cracking on that. All right. So I want to thank both of you for being on this program today. I appreciate both of you for taking the time to sit down with me and chew the fat and kind of hash it out. And let's do this again. Let's talk down the line and especially when you've raked in the millions and millions of dollars off this new project that you've made. Let's talk when you guys are uber famous and household names and don't really want to talk to me, but you managed to do it anyways. Let's make that conversation happen. Juwan, Josh, I want to thank you so much for being on the program today.
Man, thank you so much, Tim. This is amazing. Appreciate you creating the opportunity for us to sit down and have this conversation with you and also with each other. So thank you.
All right.
Yeah, likewise. I want to share that sentiment. Thank you for having us. It's not a thing you have to do. It's a thing you wanted to do. So I appreciate that from me to you as well.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate you both. Folks, two notes for you before we let everybody go. One, the Apple app is up and available. The update is there as well. Check it out in the Apple store. If you've got an Apple device, iPad, iPhone, whatever it is, get your updates if you need updating. If you aren't aware of it and need to find a place to get your Darkness Radio, it's an Apple app. It says Darkness Radio. It's Scott Scully there. Go get it. Two, check out the Darkness Radio store, darknessradioshow.com. Check out Darkness Radio Show for anything you may need, whether it be archives of the show, whatever it is, darknessradioshow.com. This weekend, go be a light in someone's darkness. There are people out there, your neighbors, your friends, whoever that may be disabled, that need your help. Even though we're getting warmer weather this weekend, you have people that may need help with spring cleaning, whatever it is. Let's help each other out, make the world a little bit better place. Go help somebody this weekend. Get out of the house and enjoy life, but go help someone this weekend. Be a light in someone's darkness this weekend. A message from your friends here at Darkness Radio. Thank you so much for being a light in my darkness and making my life a little bit better. And being a light for me in this industry. I have so much fun doing this show, and you guys make it possible for me to do this show. So I love doing this show from week in and week out. I never express enough gratitude, I don't think. So thank you. It's my attitude of gratitude. I want to thank you guys so much for allowing me to do this for a living. So that's my gratitude to you. We'll see you next week for another great week of the best in paranormal podcasting. This has been Darkness Radio.
For more audio and video archives of the show, intriguing content, and cool swag, check out darknessradioshow.com. The executive producer of Darkness Radio is Troy Palmer. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's program, Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a great weekend, and remember to be a light in someone's darkness.